Let's do this. Okay. Tell me, do a countdown thing.
Do a countdown thing?
Yeah. Like 3, 2, 1 or something.
5, 4, 3.
Yo, y'all. What say you? Welcome to the hot seat. It's Marcus and Ryan, but don't call him Ryan because he don't like it and his mama don't like it either. But you can call him Hanley because that's what he likes it when people call him. Tonight we are going to be talking about those digital things that are on our mind. I want to welcome everybody that's watching in our live studio audience. It's the beauty of the blab. And of course, this is a podcast that is going to be on iTunes in the next, I guess, about week because Hanley and I wanted to have a backlog, and now we have a backlog. Excited. If you would like to jump in and share your opinions as we're talking, please do. Please let us know how you feel. We always have 4 sections. We have a 30-minute episode tonight because we're going to be fast and crisp because, we got to be efficient. Plus, Mr. Hanley has got his Bills playing tonight, and his Bills are surely going to lose by at least 23 points to those New England Patriots, who they like to accuse of cheating all the time. But we won't go there, will we, Hanley?
So far, they have had 2 completely BS penalties. Ridiculous already. And Tom Brady's complaining.
Clearly is. So the first section of all hot seats is Tap Your Brain. That's when you talk about the things that are on your mind. I don't even know if I should ask you this, Hanley, because obviously we all know what's on your mind is, silly, insignificant things like American football, which I actually love, but I'm just acting like I'm above that right now.
Yeah.
Let's see you, sir, tonight. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is that the Buffalo Bills have not been on Monday Night Football since 2009, and we finally get an A-class head coach in terms of Rex Ryan, and we're back on Monday night. It's 3-3 we're like 3 or 4 minutes into the second half, or the second quarter, and the Bills are looking good. We're looking very good. It's a tight game. There's a lot of hard hits, and I like what I'm seeing so far. We finally got a good quarterback. Tyrod Taylor knows how to play the game. He's no Brady. But
you can tell that this is such a hometown. You still have no hope as a team. I think it's beautiful that you're saying this. I'm not gonna allow.
The playoffs started today. We would be in the plaplayoffs. So that's
not going to allow us to continue to talk about football. Hanley.
If the playoffs were to start today, we'd be in. Okay, well, this isn't a
sport. Talk about a marketing thing. Let's talk about what's on my mind, then, Hanley. So I got to read to you a lead that I got that irks me. Some people, I'm going to call this Tap Your Brain moment on being a nice guy and how some folks have no couth. Okay? That's my lead in, Hanley.
Okay.
That's my lead in.
The decent
so
title.
I get a lead. Or not a lead. Somebody fills out a form on my website. Here is what it says. Marcus, I would love to interview you. I've read a bit about you, and I think you would be a perfect match for my upcoming telesummit. I won't mention the name here, Hanley, because you know how that is. I'm trying to be nice.
Be nice.
The person goes on to say, do you do interviews? I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Then the person says their name. Okay? So that's not so bad, right? Hey, la, la, la.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
That's just fine. That's fine. Well, okay. Then the person, I responded, and I said, person, I'm happy to give you a little bit of my time. Sure, I can do an interview for you. This is the response that I get, Hanley. Here we go. Marcus, thanks for that. Here are some details about the telesummit. All interviews will be pre-recorded. They're 35 to 40 minutes long. I will supply the questions for the interviews. The summit is free. And then there's a section, Hanley, on requirements. And this is where it gets interesting. Lots of silly hashtags I could think of. Requirement number 1, all experts must have a list of 8,000 or more. Second one, it gets better. Second one, everyone is required to send a solo email and social media blast by December 1st.
So if you hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. I actually think that this must be a form letter that some guru rockstar ninja is giving to people for these telesummits, because I can't tell you I have done 2 of these recently where After I said yes to the person, I got the requirements afterwards, and it was literally the same exact thing. 8,000 was the number of email subscribers that I was supposed to have. And there, it was literally what you're saying word for word. So I'm assuming that there's a guru rockstar ninja telesummit person out there who is handing these out like templates to people saying, this is what you send out. I would guarantee that this is happening because I basically told both of them, I'll send a tweet out or something, but I'm not, if you can not use the interview that we did, but I'm certainly not emailing my list about your telesummit, mostly just because I feel like I got jobbed here. That's
well. See, this is what actually shocks me, Hanley. The fact that you actually handled it with that much it's okay that you just essentially lied to me, then told me if you don't have, but besides 8,000, as a New York guy, I figure you'd be blowing up on these people. 8,000 people on a list. Is that something that all of a sudden makes us special? Okay, so you have 8,000, so now you are worthy of being on a telesummit. Now you can be viewed as a social media expert. There's plenty of people that maybe only have a list of 1,000 because they haven't been whoring it out or whatever reason they might be new or whatever the thing is. Billy Bob Brigham says, he says, some folks have no couth. Excuse me, hashtag some folks have no couth is now trending as well. It should be brutal, dude. But I got to tell you the response really quick. I got to tell you the response. My response to this person as a test was, I'm confused, miss. We'll just call her miss. I'm confused, miss. I'm doing the event pro bono as a favor, correct? If that is the case, why am I required to promote it to my list?
Yep.
So weird, man. Why?
Well, okay, so this is what I would say.
People lost their minds.
This is what I'm going to say to that. So you have to take into account, this is what I did on both occasions. And this is why I'm telling you there's a rockstar guru ninja out there who's pushing this as a template, is because both of these people were beginners. They were trying to hack through it. I could tell they were trying their best. They were, they're trying to do a good job. They weren't, neither one of these people were like people that had been in a game for a long time and were just trying to pull one over on me. They were following some checkpoint list, trying to do a good job. And I just felt in my heart, and I'm a very nice guy.
Yes, clearly you are.
I'm a really nice guy. And I just said to myself, I'm not going to do this for them. I'm not going to email this out because it's just not, because what you just said, this is pro bono work. I'm giving my time, whatever. We're trying, you asked me. It's not like I petitioned you to be on your thing. And
it's whack, Holmes.
But
it's whack.
I think it's still okay to do it. But you should feel, this is what I think everyone listening, if this happens to you, you should feel no obligation to send the email or do whatever they're saying unless you feel that it's the right thing to do for, if you think that content is a right fit for your audience, then sure, go ahead. But there is no obligation in this scenario. There is no obligation where if you are being solicited to be on someone's web summit or whatever, that you have to promote that thing. There's no moral obligation to that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, broski. If anybody ever, this lady, she asked me this way. She said, if you ain't got 8,000 and if you don't email your entire list, then you're basically not going to be a panelist or whatever. As soon as I read this thing, I'm like, I'm never going to talk to this person again. I only respond.
She ultimated.
Anytime anybody makes anything plus it's this whole pride factor. It's just ridiculous. Social media is a bunch of false numbers, and it's just sickening anyway. Oftentimes, I'm just stereotyping. But let's move on from that. Don't be that person.
Don't be that person.
Have some couth, y'all.
Yeah, don't be that person.
Okay, so second section of the evening is when we have our News for Nerds section. This is when we talk about anything that we want to just discuss briefly. Digital, techie, nerdy, whatever you want to call it. Mr. Hanley, do you want to go first? Do you want me to
go first? Because I'm finding my stat. I had my stat and I lost it, and I'm trying to find it right now.
You're finding your stat?
Yes, I'm finding my stat.
I want to talk about influencer outreach the right way, Hanley.
Okay, do that.
I got an influencer outreach bad and good example tonight. So has anybody that's watching this live, have you ever heard of SEM Rush? SEM Rush, a competitor, SEO Moz, and a competitor, some others. Okay. So SEM Rush, love this. They send me this glorious email. It's a personal email. They say, Marcus, look, man, I'm gonna like sum it up for you, Hanley. They said, look, Marcus, we know that you have influence in the space, and here's what we want to do. We would love for you to talk more about our product, whether it's on your blog, whether it's on a sidebar, whatever. But we know you don't know our product. You've never used SEMrush. So this is what I would like to do. I would like to give you free access to SEMrush as a power user for the next 6 months.
Yep.
You can use it however you want to use it. But we hope that by you using it, you will feel comfortable enough to not only recommend it, but to be an affiliate, recommend it to your clients, etc., etc. I don't ever respond to cold emails, Hanley. This was awesome.
Yeah.
It was glorious, and it was a real deal offer. It was like, really, what's in it for me? Oh, there's plenty in it for me because I get. And so what I did is I sent it off to one of my employees. I said, Kevin, I said, Kevin, look at this. We got this SEMrush. Let's start using it. I want you to learn about it. Then once you learn about it and use it, teach me about it. Tell me if you like it or don't like it. And we're just going to go from there. Point being, SEMrush, hat tip to you. That's how you do influencer marketing. Very well done. What say you, Hanley?
So I have actually, about a year ago, I was approached by SEMrush. Very similar scenario. Let me use the tool. And I've actually been a fan ever since. And just one quick sidebar, they're not a direct competitor of Moz. Actually, their tool does a few different things than Moz. And Moz actually takes some of the SEMrush data and puts it into Moz. And you can, if you have a Moz, you actually get some of SEMrush. And I'm sure there's some sort of agreement where they get paid there. So it is not a direct competitor. And their team is fantastic. They have a wonderful blog. They do a good job. If you're ever a contributor to their blog, they have actually reached into my stream and like retweeted some of my stuff. And, if you're a guest post, no one ever does that kind of stuff. And they do. They get it. They do a wonderful job. And it's about creating a relationship, not about simply and I just messed that topic up. Not about it's not about just getting what they want out of the thing. You actually, let's say you use it and you just never really figure it out, but you're always going to remember that if you do need that tool, that's a tool you're willing to go back to and pay for because of how they reached out to you in the first place. So I give big props to SEMrush. And I'm actually
doing it right. And by the way, they didn't say, oh, and as part of us giving it to you for 6 months, Marcus, we would like you now to send it out to your entire list. And when you have your blab tonight, we expect you to mention it there. We expect you to mention all your podcasts, as a matter of fact. Okay, Hanley, you got any tech news on your mind tonight, sir?
Yeah. I got a real quick stat for everybody. So the first one is legit. The next two are going to be close, and I just couldn't find them. So this is for people who do local search or have a local business. I think this stat is amazing. I use this all the time in my presentations to independent insurance agencies. So Think with Google. If you're not signed up for Think with Google's newsletter, do it. If you geek out on marketing and stats and search, Think with Google is an amazing newsletter to get, and it's all research driven. Very, very good stuff. So they recently came out with a couple stats. 82% of all smartphone users use their smartphone to find a local business. So that makes sense, right? They're using their smartphone to find a local business. 50% of the time, they actually visit that business, and 17% of the time, they actually buy from that business. So what that tells me is that if you are a brick and mortar business and if you are not laser focused on local search, if the local community is important to you and the success of your business, and you are not laser focused on the success of your local, how you show up in local search results, you are missing an enormous opportunity. And this is particularly important from the mobile side. Mobile local search, which depending on how your website is set up can be different from how you show up on a desktop. So focusing on this stuff. I don't have the 50 and the 17 are close to what those numbers are. I couldn't find those two stats. I just found the 82, but yeah, incredibly important.
So that's pretty cool, big dog. And I just signed up myself, and hopefully everybody, I don't know if you get a chance to put that in the sidebar, Mr. Hanley, but put that in there if you have not already, so we can do that. We had, what was it? What was it? Who was it? We had at Elijah Harry say, how much snow did you guys snort before going live tonight? Love that. Love that question. Of course, the answer that I gave him was lots. And he said, well, I love the energy. That's what happens when you snort snow.
Yeah.
Mr. Elijah Harry. All right, my man.
The problem with that is, though, it's cold, and then your nose starts to freeze. So
It does. And then you have one of those moments like Dumb and Dumber when your tongue sticks to the flagpole.
yes.
Glorious scene, by the way.
It's
Okay.
possible as the winter goes on that if I get too close to this mic, I might just get stuck to it, and I won't be able to. Actually, no one make a gif of that motion I just made. Jesus.
Yeah. Please, if anybody can jiffy that one, please jiff away.
Like
By the way, Hanley, I'm in
just spread
Vancouver
peanut
tonight.
butter all over it.
Vancouver tonight. My daughter and I, of course, we're still thinking East Coast time. We're going to be watching that what is that movie we're watching?
Mockingjay Part 2.
Yeah, Mockingjay Part 2. She's, of course, I'm in a hotel room in Vancouver. We're going to be watching Mockingjay Part 2.
I just
watched
watched part 1.
Yeah. So when are we going to be watching it? We're going to be watching it at 10:10 West Coast time, which means it's going to be like 1:10 our time, which means we'll be done about 3:40 in the morning, but it's in the IMAX. And yo, Holmes, she's never watched any movie in IMAX, so it's going to be new experience tonight. New experience. Okay, so we got to move on to dude. Did you see that? This is a section when we just talk about things that we saw that were like, well, whatever reason they caught our mind. Mr. Hanley, I've gone first twice, so you, sir, can go first this time. What's on your mind?
Dude, did you see that HBO just released the new promotional graphic for Game of Thrones, and it's Jon Snow on the cover? And I know that you don't do television and all that, but for those of you, so let me tell you why this is incredibly interesting. So for those of you not into GOT, Game of Thrones was initially.
Oh, I didn't even know it has an acronym, so that's cool.
Yeah. Everything Amazingly Cool has an acronym, just like the DDYST. So, so Game of Thrones, when it first came out, I'm not spoiling anything. No spoilers. This is not a spoiler alert. When it first came out, Game of Thrones, the author, George R.R. Martin, this was like 1997 when the first book came out. I was in college. I'm a huge sci-fi geek. So while the rest of my buddies were like pounding through beers and stupid movies, I'm leafing through Game of Thrones, right? And these are like 800-page books. Don't care. It was super cool because even though for a while they used to say Hanley only reads books with maps, when Game of Thrones came out on HBO, who's the coolest guy in the room now? So, okay, let's just stop there. So this came out as a 7-book series. 7-book series is what he said. This is going to take 7 books to finish this story. He's through book 5, and at the end of book 5, the ending, what happens to Jon Snow in the end of this TV series, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. Sorry, my commercial just came through ESPN and it started playing and it messed me up.
What are you doing right now? Get to the point. Whatever you're going to say.
So here's the point. So he hasn't written the 6th book yet, and they put Jon Snow like maybe dies, maybe doesn't, like Glenn in the vampire or the zombie show. Like he hasn't. You don't know whether he dies or not dies. He gets stabbed, and now he's on the cover of the new thing, which tells me they haven't released the 6th book yet, but the show is coming out in April. What the hell? Is he not going to put the book out? Like, it's like, what the hell? Why isn't he putting the book? Is the book coming out? Is the book?
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
I
don't even know what to say to that.
This is why I'm so fired up tonight. Is because I saw this Jon Snow thing, and I just.
So I think.
What's the score of the Bills game?
Listen, if we didn't just lose 50% of our audience, we
actually just gained 4 people watching this.
Gained 4 people in the worst segment in the history of the hot seat, right there, the worst. So, dude, did you see that? DDYST for me, sir. This. Did you see that Mark Zuckerberg, arguably the most powerful? Not powerful, one of the most influential CEOs in the world right now, he just announced on his Facebook page that he is doing what, Hanley, did you see?
2-month paternity leave.
2-month paternity leave. Paternity leave. And there's an interesting article on the site theverge.com, which is a pretty cool site, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And it's actually talking about this trend of more and more CEOs that are taking paternity leave, and how, what this means, right? And how actually, if men are taking more paternity leave, it will help just maternity leave. And there's this whole like domino effect from it. I think it's really, really interesting. But as somebody that has 4 kids myself, yes, right, y'all, I got 4 children. I am fertile. As someone that has 4 kids, I think this is pretty awesome. And obviously, I was able to do this as a owner of my own business. Never had to do it before, but it makes me think a little bit about like my employees and pushing some of my men's that work for me, especially with my swimming pool company. Like, hey, maybe you should take some more time to be with your wonderful wife as she is on maternity leave. Hanley, you just had another, or you're having another.
So you can talk about
on your mind.
You can talk about your fertility, but I can't talk about Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead.
That whole Game of Thrones, I don't know what that was. I have no idea what it was.
Look, there are some shows which you can abstain from and still remain relevant in pop culture. Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead are not 2 of them. They're must watches, just like $1 million listing LA or whatever it is. That's a good one too.
See, there we go again.
Yeah.
There we go again.
Yeah.
Okay, Hanley. Final section of the evening. We call it the hot seat. But, it's just really anything that's on our mind. Which, by the way, we've got 50 live. I don't know what's up with Blab tonight, but you guys are just riffing away. If you have any questions about content marketing, which is generally what we say this is about, but it's really just all of our thoughts on all things digital, sales, marketing, and life, and paternity leave, and Jon Snow, who I still don't even know who he is.
Jon Snow is one of the most badass characters to ever hit high fantasy, which is technically the genre in which Game of Thrones is in. And to answer Ben's question, he would probably have a chance at 1, but then that redhead died. So let's move on to the nuts and bolts here. I want to actually talk about something that is related to digital marketing, and that is
Thank you.
The post that Chris Brogan actually posted today called "Stamping Your Digital Passport," and I'm going to put this in the show notes here, so that everyone can get at it. So here's the crux. Here's what's of what Chris says, and basically he's talking about noise versus signal, and I think this is relevant to Blab and to some of the larger conversations that are coming out there. But here's the crux of it: is that there's a lot. It's noise versus signal. Are you just part of the noise, or are you actually creating the signal? And I highly encourage you to go in and watch this and read this post. It's very, very good. But here's the piece of it that I wanted to dive into tonight, because one of the points that he makes is a way to become the signal. So the thing that stands out above the noise is to start focusing in on smaller but more engaged groups inside of your larger audience. So he uses, things like Facebook groups, Slack communities, Snapchat. There's a lot of different tools that allow you to create these really intense groups, but smaller groups inside of your larger audience. And I just wanted to throw that topic out there, Marcus, and start to get what is your opinion on this, when maybe let's say, you had the list of 25,000 and you were able to hit the little trigger. So she did allow you into her telesummit. Can you still remain incredibly relevant and relevant's the wrong word. Can you still provide the same amount of value to your core audience, those true fans, when you're blasting a message out to 25,000 versus, say, taking that group of 1,000 inside of the 25,000 and pulling them into a smaller, more focused community?
Man,
and this
is such a big deal, Hanley. And I think we'll make this our final segment. And if people want to ask questions about this, because it's this battle for attention, I've been thinking about it, because here's what I've learned, Hanley. The more, we joke around for that phrase, the riches are in the niches, right? And the more targeted, the more niche I am, the more profitable we are as a company. But here's where it gets interesting. Oftentimes, the more targeted you are means you don't get that big, huge, brand, I don't know what you call it, Hanley, but it's, where everybody's showering you with social media love all stinking day long, right? So it means that you're not writing that generic list post that might get tweeted out 1,000 times. Instead, you're talking about a very specific piece of software, a specific piece of software that a specific piece of the digital marketing community, maybe 1% of it actually uses. But because you know that thing better than anybody else, now you become the go-to source. Now, of course, in my case, HubSpot is the perfect example of that. As a company, when we produce content about HubSpot, it gets dramatically less interactions and it makes dramatically more money. And so you all of a sudden you enter this debate of, do I want to generate more revenue because I'm so well targeted? Or am I worried about my brand and my social media image and that, this thing that I just produced is not going to get the 150, 200 normal tweets that I would get when I produce a piece of content?
You feel me? Yeah, I feel you 100%. So I would say that this is like the dilemma as people come up in social media and digital marketing. And do you stay in your niche or do you fall victim to the guru rockstar ninja syndrome, which is so many people do. And I get it. And for most industries, it's so much sexier to talk about marketing than it is to talk about what you actually do and stay focused on that. And I think for the people who can do that, who can double back down into their niche and really become the standout, and you set yourself up for so much more. Let
me mention one thing about this. I got to mention Hanley.
Yeah.
So I think you may know a little bit about what I've been doing recently, but one thing that I've been doing recently. Okay, so it all started about 1.5 years ago when I was at HubSpot's Inbound Conference. I taught a session to HubSpot partners who are pretty much marketing agencies. Okay, I taught a session on how to give an inbound marketing workshop. Now, one might say that that is so niche, right? That is like and it's not very sexy. It's not very exciting. As soon as I was literally teaching this session. Nobody had taught it before. And it's a classic case of, giving your secret sauce away, because I was literally, we had done inbound marketing, content marketing workshops extremely well. I thought we had it on lockdown. And I said, you know what? I want to teach other agencies, my competitors, how to do this. So I gave a session on it at Inbound. And as I was giving the session, Hanley, I could tell the people in the audience were so stinking engaged that in that moment I said, and we're starting to offer this as training to our agencies, and we're going to have an event on this. Long story short, Hanley, we've since had 2 live events that have been ultra successful. Okay, full house of agencies coming to us all over the world. This last one, we had 4 different continents represented. HubSpot now has gotten behind this. They want to start having full-blown workshop trainings for their partners, and they've asked us at the Sales Line to do it, and we're hosting the next one in Boston in February. It all happened because we said, okay, first of all, we're going to give our secret sauce away. Second, we're going to get more specific, not more generic, which so many people want to do, right? We became very specific. And of course, we do other things, but this will end up being, because it's so niche, Hanley, one of the most profitable things we've ever done as a company. It's shocking. And it's all because we made that decision to go narrow.
Yeah. I'm a tinkerer by trade. I love to tinker and try and test. And I've never really, I focused in on Google Plus for about a year and I jumped off of that. There's a bunch of reasons for it, but really I just like trying new things. And when I think back about, my own journey in this space, I think I can look at certain rises and falls in terms, if you want to talk about counting numbers and all that kind of stuff, the vanity type stuff, it 100% has to do with spreading yourself out. Since I have dialed into the insurance industry as where I do my work, right? So I love the greater sense. I'm obviously on top of what's going on in the greater market, but I always dial it back down into my day-to-day work in the insurance industry. I would say my expertise, my authority, my creativity, everything about my game as a creator has come rushing back. We talked about when we first started brainstorming for this podcast about how I felt burnt, right? I've kind of let the Content Warfare podcast sizzle a little. There's, just different things. I kind of have felt I just felt like I was blocked. And since I have kind of refocused myself on this one particular thing in this one particular industry, it's like the floodgates have opened back up and my fingers can't move fast enough. And it's really been fun. And I think it's so easy to fall into the everything for everybody trap, because you look at traffic and you look at emails and subscribers and followers and you're like, oh, I'm killing it. But who are you really adding value to? Are you really taking 1,000 people and making and being the most valuable person for the thing that you do in their lives? And I think that's hard to do when you're an everything to everyone type of creator.
But boy, do we have a society that almost like just demands it. You know what I'm saying, Hannah? It's just more than any other time before. Holy cow. We got a great question. Before we close out this episode tonight, I want to thank everybody for listening in that's been listening. At Hello E Jacobs says, at the sales line, do you have tips on how to find these niches? And I think people, when they hear about the riches are in the niches, they say, well, that's easy to say, but how do you find those niches? And we've actually mentioned two here. One in which you became known as a Google Plus guy, right? Mm-hmm. And when Google Plus was really on its up and up, that helped your brand a lot.
Yep.
But once they just flatlined, or once they flattened out and then, of course, took a nosedive, your brand didn't benefit. It didn't hurt your brand. It just no longer helped your brand. And so it's a classic case of there was it just flattened out. In the case with in my career, the exact same things have happened. I'm going to answer E Jacobs here, and hopefully you can as well, in terms of picking the niche. I would say this though, Hanley. If we're truly obsessed with the questions that our customers and prospects are asking, and I kept having the same thing happen over and over again. So anybody that's ever asked me speak, this was happening about 6 months to 12 months before I really started teaching companies how to give workshops. So I kept getting one question over and over again, Hanley, which was this: Marcus, when you speak, you keep going into audiences. That is like, freaks me out that you do that. And I'm wondering, how do you do that without having it blow up in your face? So I kept getting it and this was from fellow speakers. And so I said, there is something here that people want to know, how this technique of engaging an audience without the process of engaging an audience blowing up in your face. That's when I started thinking about, okay, what is it that I'm doing when I teach a workshop or give a presentation that is effective? And since then, man, it has been unbelievable for me. And it came as an obsession to listening to the questions that I'm getting asked all the time. Hanley, what say you? And we're going to close this out in about 60 seconds, even though we've got a ton of people that are watching right now. So those that are watching the hot seat, those that are not aware, we do this pretty much 1 to 2 times a week. It's called the hot seat. It's going to be on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud in the next week. We had a bunch of episodes that we've now built up. He is Ryan Hanley. I am Marcus Sheridan. Mr. Hanley, what say you as we close this episode out, sir?
Yeah, so this is what I'm going to say about this. I think that I think listening to the questions is a great way to narrow in on your niche. I think you have to also enjoy answering the questions, right? Like, you love talking about communicating. If someone was talking to you, asking you questions about blogging tips all the time, you would not want to answer that question as passionately as you do about speaking and communicating and connecting with an audience, right? Like, so it is this, some people say, find your passion. Some people say that's silly. Do what makes you money. I think it's really, what I would say is, it's even more than that. It's passion plus you can make money plus people actually care to hear what you have to say. And I think that somewhere in that triangle is where your niche lies. And
there's a book to be written on that, and maybe there has been, Hanley, but it's a glorious. What you're talking about is where they meet and all that. I mean, I think that's a huge deal. And like you said, the idea that you were a little bit stuck with your podcast, you're like, man, I'm just not happy where this is going right now. It's not feeding me. It's not like feeding my life. Oh, I got this great vibe. One of the things that I'm enjoying about the hot seat here is that we are literally talking. I'm doing this in a format that's different than any other podcast that I have, because I've got two other podcasts. One is a monologue. One it's more of a news fun, but it's a different vibe. With you, I'm filling in this different void of like a little bit snarky, a little bit like, whatever it is. It's on video, so it's live, right? So we have more unique opportunities that come up in an episode. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the beauties of Blab right now for me, is the fact that we can do this. So Hanley, why don't you close us out with your final thoughts, my man?
Yeah, this is what I would say, is that, I could talk about this topic all day long, because this is what I think about. I truly believe that we need to find unscalable human experiences in our content, right? Automation is amazing, but there has to be these small things. And I actually shared last episode how about a month ago, I started writing some handwritten cards to people who had, to special interactions that I had. Sometimes it's just somebody that sends me a nice email. If I can, sometimes it's people that have me in to speak, just seemingly random things. When I feel a special connection to someone, I'll just send them a nice handwritten card. And it's completely unscalable. There's no way I could do it for my entire audience. Right. So, it's not send out cards. And this is the difference. Like, this is what's always bothered me about send out cards, is you're faking the human interaction. You're faking it. And I get it. It allows you to send a birthday card to everyone on their birthday. And I understand why people do it and businesses do it, but you cannot confuse that with an unscalable human experience, because it's not. As soon as people realize that it's a typeset and it's just supposed to look like handwriting, the emotion that they have is almost let down. I've gotten so many send out cards, and I don't know about you, Marcus, but at first I'm like, wow, this is really it's a send out card. This is nice. It's nice. I appreciate it, but it's not, holy crap, this person took the time to leave me, to write me a nice note. So, I think that we need to find more of those. I think that's what Chris was talking about, his post. That's why I kind of connected with it. He uses these smaller communities like Slack and Snapchat and Facebook groups, and I think we have to find whatever our thing is. But I really think there's something there. I think that today, that's how you become the signal.
Well, I think we'll close it right there. At least we're not going to go offline, but we will close out this podcast episode. We're going to stay open here so we can talk to anybody that wants to jump in and ask any questions. We certainly appreciate everybody joining us. There's a magic that comes with this platform, folks, and there's a magic that comes with hearing your questions in the real time and being able to answer them. We appreciate you joining us. And if you come back next week, or maybe even this week, I don't know when we're doing this. Probably next week we're doing it again, Monday or Tuesday. Do we know the day yet, Hanley? I think it's probably next Monday or Tuesday. Anyway, we hope to see you again. Thank you for joining us. We will see you soon. Okay, Hanley, we are